Welcome back to today's economic news. I'm John, and today we're diving headfirst into a story that might seem like a triumphant headline at first glance: Operation Pacific Viper's impressive 20,000-pound cocaine seizure. But as we peel back the layers, you may find yourself asking, was it really worth it? And at what cost does this apparent victory come? Now, let me set the stage. This operation is being heralded as a monumental success. Why, you ask? Because apparently, according to the narrative we're being sold, this grand seizure of cocaine indicates a level of efficacy in the United States' long-standing war on drugs. But before you start waving the victory flag, let's pause and consider the implications and outcomes of such an operation. What if I told you that this victory might actually be testament to a deeper cycle of mismanagement and wasted resources? Before we dissect today's events, let's rewind a bit. Remember back in the 1980s when the Reagan administration declared an all-out war on drugs? The focus was on aggressive, counter-narcotic operations, and this legacy has shaped U.S. foreign policy for decades. Fast forward to post-9/11 America, and we see drug interdiction measures becoming implicitly tied to national security. The Homeland Security Act of 2002 laid the groundwork for entities like the Coast Guard to engage in these high-stakes, international waters operations. This escalation in drug interdiction efforts continued fervently under the Trump administration, culminating in operations like Pacific Viper. But remember, history has shown us that pressure in one area merely shifts the total. Trafficking routes, oftentimes creating new hotspots and exacerbating violence in other regions. So, as we view this operation within the broader historical context, we need to ask ourselves, are these moves genuinely combating the issue, or are they merely symptomatic of a larger, endemic failure in addressing the root of narcotics demand? Now, onto the evidence that stands at the heart of this discussion. Operation Pacific Viper resulted in the seizure of 20,000 pounds of cocaine. Sounds impressive, right? To put it in perspective, that's enough to potentially create 193 million legal doses. Imagine the capacity of such a quantity to potentially impact more than half the US population. Quite a staggering thought. Yet, we mustn't overlook the bigger picture. The Coast Guard reported seizing 100,000 pounds of cocaine in the eastern Pacific Ocean, and annually they seize about 167,000 pounds on average. But let's translate that. The staggering 193 million dose figure is being paraded as a deterrent, yet for the cartels, this is but a drop in the ocean. Moreover, if we examine fiscal year 2025 projections, we're talking about 510,000 pounds of cocaine, a number that eclipses the Coast Guard's annual averages by thrice over. And while officials claim that striking narco boats diminishes threats, one has to wonder, are these high-seas seizures really curbing the drug flow, or just playing a part in a perpetually losing battle? Let's confront the cavalcade of rhetoric used by those in power. We've only just begun striking narco boats and putting narco-terrorists at the bottom of the ocean because they've been poisoning the American people, they zealously announce. But ask yourself, do they think we're going to swallow such grandiose claims without questioning the cost? And I'm not just talking about the cocaine. What about the billions spent on military hardware, the dubious tactics raising legal and ethical questions, and the very real risk to civilian lives in these operations? Here's where the libertarian perspective offers a sobering analysis. The ever-increasing military spending on such operations resembles a slow drift towards unchecked debt and inflation. How, you ask? Well, each dollar funneled into these operations is a dollar out of taxpayer pockets, fueling national debt and eroding the very value of our currency, translating to what many might call pure theft from ordinary citizens who face economic uncertainty. And then there's the question of government competence. While administrations present these hardline tactics as solutions, history reminds us that forceful interdiction often leads only to a balloon effect, shifting trafficking routes rather than eradicating them. It's a glaring showcase of governmental failure to tackle the underlying societal issues feeding the drug cycle. What truly stings is the gradual loss of liberty that accompanies these operations, a creeping militarization that paints a troubling picture where national security is used as a carte blanche to expand governmental powers, quietly encroaching on personal freedoms. So, what are we left with? A quintessential example of governmental overreach and misplaced priorities. So, if you're tired of paying for their mistakes, join us. Hit subscribe and follow us as we continue to dig deeper into the stories that matter. Until next time, stay informed and stay empowered.